And we're live. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. We have a broadcast button this week as opposed to last week. So technical difficulties solved. It's good to be back. And I have everybody who's joined us introduce themselves. Doc, introduce yourself. Tell us what you're up to.
Hello, everybody. Doc Sheldon here, Intrinsic Value SEO and Search News Central. And we're just sitting here talking in the green room about the announcement that G Plus is going to be going away. A lot of ramifications to consider there. Other than that, I'm just gimping around on a cane for the last week, trying to get my back into shape again. Wrapping up a couple projects and not enjoying too much the fact that it seems that the summer is long over the horizon and we're plunging rapidly into winter here.
But that's why we live where we do. I mean, it could be a lot worse than here, right?
No, I live where I do because, like an idiot, I thought that being on the beach south of California was going to be warm.
Pretty much like being in California on the beach. You ain't that far south.
Nope.
Hey, Terry, want to introduce yourself? How do you feel about winter?
I love it. Hockey season.
It's hockey season. There you go. I knew that was coming.
There you go. Yeah.
You know.
I sort of thought that would be the answer.
Yeah, that was a predictable one.
Ever since I was a kid, I'd look forward to winter. And I hate the hot weather. Like, I always look at it like this. You can only go down so far in the summer. In the winter, you can put on as much as you want. So you're always comfortable. But I've always, I lived outside in the winter. Get used to it. And I'm with SEO Dojo and SEO Pros, making a mess everywhere.
Tim?
I'm Tim Calling. I own a Servant's Heart Web Design and Marketing. I know I say this every week, but situation normal here, just working, making money for people, and trying to learn what I can as I go. I think it's an exciting time, probably always has been, but to be in this field because it just changes every day. So life is good.
And I'm Bill Slosky. I'm the author of SEO by the Sea and the director of SEO research for Go Fish Digital. I've been working on a presentation I'm going to be doing in London in a couple of weeks for a Pubtelligence conference at Google headquarters. And I'm expecting to meet up with a bunch of SEOs in London the day before, from what I hear, which should be fun.
Oh, you've been invited, or they just told you about it?
I've been invited. They've told me about it.
Not teasing you.
That's a trip that'd almost be worth finding a way to tack on an extra 2 or 3 days at one end or the other, Bill.
They covered the trip, so I didn't have much say in that.
Well, you could probably change the return date.
So I'm returning back here like 3:28 in the morning, the next morning.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
What did you do wrong?
I wanted to get back when there's still some sunshine.
Oh. It can be fun though doing that when you get to meet up with other people in real life instead of up online. That is great.
For sure.
They got me there a couple of days early, so that was good.
That's good. I had an experience a little bit like that this last weekend. Many, many years ago, like 25 or 30 years ago, I did a ton of work with a database, a desktop database called Paradox. And I wrote magazine column about it, and I did custom app development. And there was a group of us around the country that were kind of in that community. And one of the guys from those days happened to be out here this last weekend for a conference about something completely different that he's involved in now. And he looked me up, and we had lunch together. That was so fun. I just we caught up. We've always been friends, but we had kind of lost touch over the years. And there's nothing quite like that, seeing people in real life. That's really super.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Italy next month.
Oh,
And
Milan?
Milan.
Yeah.
It's about an hour away from where my great-grandmother grew up.
ah,
She grew up in a little town called Bobbio, which is about an hour from Milan. And she supposedly grew up in a medieval castle,
ooh.
which is in this town. So I'm looking forward to seeing the castle. The castle's open to the public at this point in time. So hopefully I'll be able to hunt down some family.
Well, that should be fun. Good for you.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I think Fabrizio, who joins us here every once in a while, is going to be attending, and he wants to go grab some beers. David Amerland
Oh,
is
nice.
going to be there too.
Cool.
Do you know Sante?
What's that?
Do you know Sante Achilles?
He's the one who invited me.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Known him for a long time.
Yeah.
Part of SEO Pros.
Sharp guy, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very sharp.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have to start working on my presentation for that one.
The most important question: do you know where your passport is?
I do.
Just got it, huh?
One time, long ago, I realized we were about to leave on a trip, and I didn't have it where I thought I did, and I ended up having to get it replaced on an emergency basis in San Francisco. We lived in San Jose at the time. Oh, that was a pain. So.
Don't even want to think about that.
Do you know what you're going to present on next month?
Yeah.
For the show?
It's a surprise.
Okay. Yeah, this is the short answer show. No, maybe.
Well,
Is it a secret?
it's a secret at this point. It's
Okay.
the same thing a lot of people ask me to present on. It's like the future of search.
Oh, okay.
You know, talking about the adventures of passports. I was out on a project in Cartagena, Spain, many years ago. I was there for about a little over a month, and they were leaving the hotel at 4:30 in the morning. They had a shuttle bus for us to take it to the airport for a 6:15 flight. And at 4:20, I was still scrambling to get everything into my bag and could not find my passport.
Now,
The bus is downstairs. They were calling up there every 20 seconds, telling me the bus has got to go. The bus has got to go. I finally said, "Go. I'll get a cab." And I had to empty all my luggage to find my passport. I got all done, and I just said, "Shit, I'm gonna miss the flight. They won't even let you on the plane.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go to the embassy, and now I've got to find a way to get to Madrid to even get to a U.S. embassy." And I was so pissed off, I just threw my stuff back down on the floor in the room, sat down, reached for a pack of cigarettes, and what do you know? It's my fucking passport.
cigarette saved the day.
So I spent $75 paying a taxi because I had put it in the wrong coat pocket.
At least you had it.
Yeah, at least. But I did have to. I got robbed one time when I was in Athens. I got mugged, and I had to go to the consulate and get an emergency. They just gave you a document. They didn't give you a passport. They just gave you an emergency document, and that was about an 8-hour ordeal. You know.
Oh, God. I'm glad they don't give them out easily.
Oh no, they easily no. I could have had a pap smear more easily than I got that.
Okay.
The fingerprints and everything but a retina scan, you know.
When I was a kid, I went to Argentina for a year as an exchange student, and part of the process before I left was involved going to LA and getting my visa to go down there as a student. And they said, when you get down there, it's very important that you get this. It was a document. It was like an ID document, kind of like a green card would be here. And they said, you know, if you don't get that, and get caught without it, you could be in big trouble. But you can't get it until you get there, and it will be sent to you. Okay, fine. So you know, I'm 16 years old. I get down there. Sure enough, there's no document waiting for me at the host family home. And weeks go by, and then months, and never ever showed up the whole time I was there. And finally, after a few months, I quit being like worried about it. And sure enough, I got all the way through the year, got back up here to the U.S. And about 6 months after I was back home in Carlsbad, bang! It arrived in the mail, having been forwarded several times. Arrived at my home in Carlsbad.
Something you can frame, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank God they got it to me. Par for the course in Argentina. I love that country, but they are not governmentally very sophisticated. Anyway, fun stuff.
So my presentation for this month, the conference is called Pubtelligence.
Yeah.
And it's for digital publishers.
I had never heard of that until you just said it, or said it last time, or whatever.
It's fairly new, and it's something that Google is backing. So it's being held at Google headquarters in London.
Nice.
And I'm going to start off by talking about the original Google News patent that discussed the ranking factors that they would use to rank news stories from Google. There were about a dozen or so. They all had something to do with how big of a news agency you were. And it's been refiled a few times to come out with the continuation patents where they rewrite the claims. And in the first one, where they have a dozen or so agencies, a dozen or so claims that describe different ranking signals, like how big your agency is, how much of an international presence it has, whether you have national bureaus in different countries, what your print circulation is. So the newest continuation patent gets rid of all those and says how many links you have pointing to your website.
and oddly enough, print circulation is no longer a factor.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, we print 50 copies each week. That's pretty good.
So I figured that would be a good way to start the presentation by saying how much that's changed.
Yeah.
And then start talking about all the new things for news services, like the Speakable thing in Schema, where you tell in Schema what your answers are to questions that people will ask about different topics. And you can identify those, and they'll tell Google Assistant when to pause answering, when to emphasize certain things, when to speak up. and talk about the importance of identifying entities. I think it'll be interesting.
Do they pick that up in the markup around the words, like the increase in voice and stuff?
Okay, so there's a concept called prosody, which has to do with pauses, emphasis.
I'm sorry, Bill, what's it called again?
Prosody, Prosody. It has to do with the way somebody says something, when they pause, when they stress certain words, when they don't use any of that. Like the American comedian Stephen Wright used to say things like, I have a full scale map of the United States. I keep it in my backyard. So if you have no emphasis, if you have no pauses, it can turn into comedy really easily.
Yeah.
I wonder if the origin of that word is similar to the origin of the word prose.
I would think it probably is, yeah.
It may be. So they used machine learning. They had lots of people testing, reading answers from Wikipedia, and what worked well, what didn't work well. And they came up with some ways that they might do that. But I'm going to stress the fact that if you're writing answers to questions, you should possibly try them out and read them and see how other people react to what you've written. So, you get somebody like our president of the United States tweeting at 3 a.m. Stuff he writes sometimes isn't too readable.
Anytime.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anytime, maybe you're right. Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense anytime, man.
You guys in politics, jeez.
Well, it's either that or local, Tim.
Yeah, well, you talk about local. It is interesting if you think about the way that we speak. The pauses that we put in. This is, I think, Bill, what you're talking about, Bill. They can really make a difference in terms of the thing we understand. There's this. I know I probably have talked about this before. You guys already know about it. There's a book called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, which is about punctuation, and it's based on an old joke about a panda bear that. Anyway, the point is that if you speak or don't speak the commas, or take them into account in the way that you speak, it can really make a difference. The joke in the book is that there's he references a badly punctuated reference book on pandas that should say eats, shoots, and leaves without any punctuation, but instead it says eats, comma, shoots, and leaves, and the panda pulls out a gun and he's leaving the restaurant and shoots, and then he leaves. So I suppose if he eats, shoots, and leaves, or eats, shoots, and leaves, those are two very different meanings in terms of how you have enunciated it. Interesting.
Well, I wonder, we've watched Google has shifted so much of their search focus to mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been wondering for a while, will we soon see them shift more and more to spoken searches and results?
Yeah.
And I think that is probable. One would think that they're never going to leave behind, conventional on monitor responses and searches, but then one would think that they're not going to leave behind desktop and go strictly mobile either. And we see how that worked out for us.
I think the Internet of Things is going to be so huge that they're not going to have any choice. When you can search for recipes on your refrigerator or oven, you're not going to have much screen room for it to show you recipes.
Yeah,
but it's going to show you something very condensed. And it's going to tell you what ingredients you don't have enough of.
And it may actually give you verbal instructions while you're over at the counter running the mixer, you know?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, who's going to be able to, or how long will it be before the average American can afford a refrigerator with a computer in it and a screen?
Yeah, very true.
Quite a while.
And the rest of the world, you guys were the ones that were always telling me the rest of the world to Google looks like it's on a mobile device, and so that's why Google is emphasizing mobile devices. Fine, but all of this, I guess, speech coming from the mobile device, I suppose, is why this all matters in the rest of the world. But it's pretty
right. Weird. And in my opinion, it'll be the number of speech-driven searches that determines that. In other words, Google isn't just going to flip the switch at some point.
Oh, no.
Like it. They'll do it with mobile just the same way. Yeah. It had to be over 50% of the searches before they would even consider making it a mobile first index. So I think you got to look at the users and always follow the users where it comes with Google, in my opinion.
Well, I think you're probably right, but unfortunately, they didn't go to mobile first. They went to basically to mobile only.
Mm-hmm. How many cars have computer monitors built into the dashboards these days?
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now with CarPlay, more and more of them that actually work with your phone to display like Waze or something on your dashboard. Tube. Amazing.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking at one the other day. The new Chevy pickup has actually got now. You've been able you've got your backup camera, a little monitor there, and you can hook up your smartphone to it, so it'll tell you what song it's playing, and you can actually make all your selections via the car rather than the phone. Well, now they've actually got its voice where you can command the phone, go to 98.7 FM, and it will actually do it. It's like a $2,500 option. I don't think so, Tim, but somebody apparently thought they could market that. But,
well, since I buy a new car every 15 years or so, I may
pay for that. 5 years, that'll be standard equipment.
Yeah,
probably so.
On the electric cars.
I need to get a new driver's license soon, and a California driver's license. I need to take a driver's test, a written test, and I'm reading through the instructions for that, and it's saying that these cars that will parallel park themselves, you're not allowed to use that in a driver test.
Oh, no.
In a driver's test.
Physical driver test, if you have to take one of those.
Well, if people could do that instead of having to be able to parallel park, it wouldn't be any fun for the driving test people.
I guess not.
Lord. Of course, you can't get an appointment at a DMV office nearby here anyway these days.
Yeah.
So that's assuming you have the patience left to parallel park after you've been in line for 6 hours. So.
And 6 hours is if you had an appointment.
Actually, so this brings up an interesting point, not at all related to this stuff, but I guess I just became aware of the fact that there's a new U.S. Department of Transportation requirement that is going to go into effect, in 2020 or something, that will require that some states driver's licenses will no longer be accepted for ID when you get on domestic flights. And
the real ID.
Yeah, real ID.
Real ID, yeah.
So if you got a new driver's license now, Bill, do you happen to know, will that be sufficient because it will be a real ID driver's license, or do you know?
You need to tell them which version you want.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think I saw something. There's a very nominal extra charge for getting the real ID. It's not bad.
In other words, they're charging you for real ID now.
Well, I mean, it was something like maybe $12, $15 or something like that upgrade charge. It wasn't, unreasonable. But
Guys like Tim and I would think that's another form of taxation.
well, sure.
Well, of course. Well, that's like, yeah, okay. No, we're not going to go down that trail. So the question I had was, since you guys seem to know about this a little bit, if I were to get on a plane and all I had was my regular California's license and my U.S. passport wallet card, which I've never before had a use for, I wonder if that would be sufficient ID then.
My understanding is that the wallet card, the passport wallet card, is going to be valid in lieu of a real ID. It's one of the options you can have, as would a regular passport. A booklet passport also would suffice. You already know where you can't use that ID passport.
The card is only good for going over the U.S. and Canadian border, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But without one of those three, you're not going to get on a flight from L.A. to Chicago.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I do.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a bad thing if you can get on a flight without proper ID. Do you think that's a bad thing? What part is bad? I don't understand.
I think it is a radical departure. I am not a citizen of the Republic of California. I am a citizen of the United States. And to tell me that I cannot travel between this city and that city, I find very problematic.
Oh, because it's intrastate instead of interstate.
Exactly. Well, no, even to say I can't go from Sacramento to Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
They're both parts of the United States. I'm a United States citizen. I should be able to travel within the United States. Now, obviously, I can understand them not wanting to let me into the country from outside, or to even board a plane leaving the country, without some identification. And I understand the terrorism concerns for not being able to identify everybody get on a plane, but I do have a problem with it.
The thought that you have to show your papers to an official before you can travel is like something out of Hogan's Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Or Russia.
Uh-huh.
Well, so
Germany during the war.
So how are you going to, well, I don't know how far down this trail we want to go, but so what would you do instead to try to prevent terrorists who have gotten into the country illegally from getting on a flight then?
Not do stupid stuff to make them come over here and blow us up.
I tell you what, for about $150, Tim, for about $150, I can have a United States passport with my photo on it showing your face. Okay.
Well, so we need
2 days.
We need effective ID. Okay, got it.
Okay, so now passports today are all scannable, and they'll run the thing across the bar scan, and they pull up what is integrated into the passport. It's not they don't even need internet access for it. They can actually pull up a condensed version of your State Department record and when you were issued and where and all that. Presumably a real ID is going to be able to do something similar. Yeah. Although I doubt that it's all going to be integrated into the document, but some portion of it will be, like fingerprint, for some biometric or whatnot. So, being able to falsify documents is going to become a lot more difficult with that kind of technology.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit too 1939 for my taste. Thanks.
How interesting.
The ability to actually get an airline ticket and get aboard a plane, it has been so
it's a chore.
Different from one state to another that when hijackers got Virginia driver's licenses before they blew up the World Trade Center, their acquisition of Virginia licenses to be able to do that, they didn't show much proof that they were U.S. citizens when they got those driver's licenses. They showed very little. They acquired those easily.
Well, you don't have to in California anyway. So
You don't have to what?
you don't have to show proof of citizenship. Very specifically in California anyway, you don't have to show proof of citizenship or even legal status.
And now that is something I agree with, because before we just had a whole lot of unlicensed drivers because they were illegal, which I thought was rather self-defeating,
You don't have to show proof of citizenship to get a driver's license?
No.
You don't have to show like a utility bill that shows that you live in California?
Nope. Well, I don't think so.
I don't think you have to.
I know very specifically.
I think you do.
Well, residency is different from citizenship. So what I do know for sure is that you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to get a California license. That I know. That
was passed by the state legislature, what, maybe 3 years ago?
Oh, longer than that. But yeah, within the last decade or so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was Calderon. Was that the legislator?
It's like 3 years to Doc.
Okay.
Yeah. But now
there is that too. I get that all the time too, Doc.
So, Bill, maybe there is a residency requirement. I don't know. That's an interesting distinction, and I don't know the answer to that. In your case, since you became a California resident, or you are a new resident in California, maybe that is required. That's interesting. I don't know. I've had a California license since dinosaurs roamed the earth, so I forget what I had to show. I probably had to. I don't know. I really don't remember what I had to do.
Well, as an example, here in Mexico, if you go to the equivalent of the DMV here in Tijuana, the requirements are going to be almost the same in terms of the written test, the practical test, the proof of insurance, identification, all this, as they would be in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when I went to get a license in Zacatecas, which is way down in the interior, I walked in, dropped 50 pesos on the desk, and filled out the form. They took my picture, and in about 20 minutes, I had a license.
Well,
no written test, no practical test. He says, "You know how to drive?" He says, "How long have you been driving?" It since 1960. Okay. So it depends.
See, California, it's important for me to know the difference between when the curb is painted red and the curb is painted yellow, or if it's painted blue.
Well, that's simplified down here. We don't fucking have curbs. You don't have curbs unless you got pavement, dude.
Well, hey, in a lot of places of Oceanside and Carlsbad, there's no curbs either. So. I drove through the barrio the other day in Carlsbad, and there's a lot of places where there's no sidewalks and curbs.
So California has a lot more painted curbs than any other state I've ever lived in.
Yeah,
that could well be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, in California, if I see a curb that's painted and it's not green, then I just don't park there because I know I'm probably going to get in trouble. If it's green, I know I can probably be there for like 10 minutes or something.
If it's blue, it's supposed to have painted on and how long you can be there too.
Yeah. Well, isn't blue handicapped?
Blue is drop
loading,
off
unloading,
and delivery. Yeah,
loading, unloading. Yeah. Now, if you go to Virginia, they had white curbs for really? passenger loading, unloading. And it's really nice, when you're in a neighborhood that they're not painting the curbs every 2 weeks. It's kind of difficult to determine what's white and what's concrete because they're pretty much the same color. And I got a when I was a cop there, I pulled in front of what I thought was a store and parked on the curb and came out and found a ticket on my windshield.
Delaware, I only remember yellow curbs. They used to repaint the curbs every year before the big Halloween parade. And knew that the parade was going to happen in a couple of weeks because they'd repaint the curb.
Now, in the, let's see, you used to live in Virginia, was it?
Yeah.
Me?
Well, I was actually asking Bill, but what about the difference in the U-turn laws? Are they the same here in California? Because I know those vary a lot from one state to the next. Like here in California, you can make a U-turn in an intersection unless it says no U-turn. But I know it's the opposite in some states.
In Virginia, you could make a U-turn unless it's posted, just like California.
Okay, just like California.
And you could also do either a turnabout, which is a 3-point turn on like a residential street, provided there's no solid line.
Mhm.
But you can't do a U-turn in the middle of the block, even if there's no solid line.
I don't think you can do a U-turn in California in the middle of the block either, can you?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah. It's interesting. Of course, well, it'll be, so we should start a pool on whether Bill passes on the first try then.
I think I'll pass.
I think you will. Oh my.
The tricky part is memorizing all the laws that don't apply to me. Like if you're under 18, are you allowed to talk on the phone when it rings and you're driving?
And it's all that is still in the written test, even though it doesn't matter to you.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be a certain age to answer the phone in California.
And that's assuming that it's a hands-free phone. My understanding is that if it's not hands-free, you flat can't use it.
You flat can't use it. Yeah. The right answer is something like let the message go to voicemail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you know that every 17-year-old is going to do.
Oh, yeah. So the next time you're out driving around, take a look at who it is that's talking on the cell phones, holding them up or like this.
Virtually everybody.
Well, a lot of people. That's true. That's true. I might have said something mean, like it's mostly cops, but it's probably everybody. You're probably right. Yeah.
It's an anomaly anymore to see a group of people seated around a table in a restaurant together and actually see one or more of them not have their face buried in their phone.
We talked about that last night. Linda and I went to dinner with my mom and dad, and at the tables all around us, all the especially the younger people were
they were
doing iPhone prayer.
Yeah.
And there are businesses with business models that demand that people driving have their cell phones out. DoorDash and Uber, Lyft.
Yeah.
They couldn't function without cell phones.
Yeah.
And most taxis these days too.
I've only used Uber once, but yeah, sure enough, the driver was like, he was driving one-handed and he had his phone out the whole time. So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I make a lot of fun of people that are so addicted to the internet, but when my ISP goes down for more than 5 or 10 minutes, I almost go into a cold sweat. Because I can't work. I can't communicate. I've got a VoIP. We don't even have a landline, and it's just like, fuck. What do I? It's like living in the dark ages. What do I do now?
So your cell phone, does it have a mobile hotspot built into your data plan?
I have I've got it basically tied into my Wi-Fi. This phone doesn't even have a chip in it. I have WhatsApp, but it's basically I only have it for testing websites and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it does have WhatsApp on it. But I do everything here on my desktop, so I don't really need it for anything else.
So I can run my desktop computer off my Wi-Fi on my phone.
Yeah.
I can run it as a mobile app.
Yeah, if I had a chip in it, I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never tried that. I can't imagine how slow that might be, given how slow my Taco ISP is all by itself. In ideal conditions,
it can be pretty painful.
It's like smoke signals under ideal conditions. So
actually, though, now that you mentioned that, my wife worked at a hospice where they issued them laptops and cell phones, and they told them, when you're out in the field, when you've got a chance in between patient visits, stop, someplace and connect up using the hotspot on your phone, and try to do your case notes on your laptop, and it worked pretty well actually for her. I've done that once in a while in a pinch here, not very often, but it does work. Trying to think about what's been going on. Did you want to talk about Google Plus?
Did anybody seen on Search Console some weird stuff happen recently? I found that I went from almost zero 404s to over 1,300.
Is it any different between old and new GSC, or is it the same on both platforms? It should be the same, right?
No,
I wouldn't assume that, Jim.
After it changed over. And I mean, we're talking, it's saying that it detected 404s on a smartphone in 2006. Nah, I don't think so.
Surprise. We've been waiting to show you those.
I don't even believe there was a mobile crawler in 2006.
Probably not. Well, let's see, 2006. The first smartphone I ever had was a Pocket PC back in 2002 or 3. I don't know when they actually did a crawler for it, though. It could have been by 2006. I don't know.
Wow.
You would probably remember more than I, because I wasn't as active in SEO back in those days.
Yeah, but it was even calling pages that hadn't even been created yet. 404s in 2000, detected in 2006.
That's
and
special.
The page was built 2 months ago.
That's special.
Found 410s that had been 410 for months, and they were now coming up as 404s. And even when I tested, even when I tested it, by going to the site, got a 410. Then I even went and said, okay, I'm going to check the head response. Same thing there, 410, gone. To me, if you got a bunch of puking going on in your GSC, ignore it. And I wish there was some place that you could complain and they would clean it up.
I wish there was. I've almost given up on really paying a lot of attention to GSC error emails because I don't know. Maybe it's going to settle down, but it seems like for the last 6 to 12 months, they're always wrong, or at least they talk about stuff that I can't verify. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Like, especially the detected dates. I just laughed and said, "Oh, that couldn't happen." I don't know where this data is even coming from. And some of the pages that they're calling 404s were still working.
Mm-hmm. So I've seen that for a couple of years now. That an awful lot of 404s they report. It had to have been a momentary glitch. It was one assumption, because they weren't. They were working just fine, and I just go ahead and report it as fixed, and it goes away until next month it comes back. Yeah,
but going through and marking one at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Pain in the butt. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I notice is that there are, for one client in particular that's been around a long time, when I first started working with them, they had like 6,000 404s, and they were almost all crummy porn terms for pages that, at least when I took over, weren't even on their site. And it's a healthcare client, like all mine are, seems like. And so I went to a lot of work to set up regexes to return 410s. Just say, not here, gone. Because because I didn't know anything else to do. And there's still all of those terms are still ending up, with 404s being reported in GSC, even though they shouldn't be. They should all be 410ing it at worst.
And you're getting did you check them to not, I'm sure you did, but did you check them to verify it's a 410 response?
Well, yes. And when there's like another 1,000 of them, which seems to be every few months with that particular one and with GSC, I don't check all 1,000, but I check, a handful. And then I honestly, I just mark them as fixed in GSC.
So these are links pointing to pages on a site you're managing from a site that you're not managing?
Not only that, but they are from ones that are, I don't know how this ever started in the first place, because they're from very benign sites, or in many cases now, sites that no longer exist. How the heck are they? Yeah.
That sounds to me like you've been infected with something, Tim.
Well, he was affected, and the links pointing at those infected pages, they haven't been taken down yet. That's what's happening.
What's really weird is some of them are for sites that no longer are up, and yet they're still turning up occasionally as new 404s. Where are they getting those?
I know I have taken pages, filed them as removed from the index, returned to 410, and physically deleted them. Okay, and then as long as a year and a half later, have them show back up as a 404 when they haven't existed anywhere other than in the archive for a year and a half. So I wouldn't put any confidence at all in
that. And these are pages which didn't exist when I took this one site over, 5 years ago now. And I don't, they may have in the past, if they were hacked, they may well have been. But it's been years since this stuff was all, fixed, and yet I keep coming up with new ones.
Google doesn't forget.
Nope.
Sometimes they don't remember very well.
They overreach the forgetting and start digging into the old stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's what it looked like. I saw stuff that I've had 301 for years.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's back as a 404.
Yep.
It's like somebody puked all this stuff out and they wanted to refresh every URL and check every URL again. That's what it looked like to me.
On another site, we're about to completely, we're doing a redesign, and we're completely doing away with their blog, which had a lot of entries. I can't wait to see all the things that we 301 in that process coming now as 404s, and they're going, what 301? But we'll just have to fight through it.
You're doing away with the blog entirely?
Yep, because there are just a ton of things in there that are no longer relevant. And ever since we've had it, well, at least for the last 3 years, we aren't doing new blog entries, we're doing new pages. So everything in there is either out of date or no longer relevant, or,
But are you really going to have that many redirects, or are you just going to have a bunch of 410s?
It's going to be, let me just think about it. I haven't thought this part through yet, because we're not close to launching. I guess we would probably 410 them, now that I think about it, and do a regex.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to redirect everything back to the homepage or something. Jeez.
Well, you could, but it would be silly. Yeah. We would 410
anyhow.
No.
Well, maybe all those people looking for porn would get tired at least. That would be a different kind of a search. Oh Lord. And when you guys know this from your experiences, when you get that kind of a problem, it's not just English language porn. It's all these weird languages. Oh Lord.
Swahili and Chinese and Ethiopian
and I've known the owners of this place for years. There's no way that they would have ever, knowingly been involved with anything like that. So it's just crap that they got hacked with at some point years ago.
You never know where some of this stuff comes up. It's like blog comments I receive from people in other languages. I've learned more non-English porn from looking up people's names, fake names, in blog comments.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe because I haven't really worked with a lot of sites that actually have active commented upon blogs, but I just turn comments off if I get a new
Yeah.
client. It's just not worth it.
All they get is spam anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Unless it's someone like Bill's blog probably gets, but I bet even then there's a lot of spam, eh, Bill?
There's enough spam from sites that link to me with lists of do follow sites, and they have my site listed as a do follow site. So people are writing comments with an expectation that I'm allowing them a forum to spam.
Right.
And it's like, no. And then people complain to me sometimes that I deleted their spam. And I write them back saying, you know what? I don't care.
Welcome to my bozo list. Actually, that I say that literally every time I get one of those stupid calls that I'm sure you guys get too, that are junk calls now on cell phones all the time. And Linda knows when this has happened because I usually say something like, welcome to my bozo list, because I block them on my phone.
The caller from New Jersey who wants to tell you that insurance, health insurance is now in an open enrollment period.
Oh yeah, it's Ann. Ann. Hi, this is Ann.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ann. Click.
Yeah, really. Oh, and then the other one we get a lot of calls from, probably because of the industry that we used to be in, are collection agencies that want us to use their services to collect from people. And those guys they're very mean sounding when they call. Hi, this is so and so and I'm calling from a collection agency. And I think their idea is that you're going to be afraid of them and you're going to listen for a little bit before you like, oh geez.
They get told where to go very quickly. Because they're usually not looking for me. They're looking for someone else.
They're never looking for me.
No, when they call Terry,
address is the same as someone else. Well, who even said that they gave the right address?
when they call and Terry answers the phone in his voice, they hang up and say, "Oh shit."
We've noticed that your website isn't on the first page of Google.
Yeah.
Hey, you noticed that too?
Or I'm calling from Google offering you a first page placement.
Or the ones that I've gotten a few of in the last couple of months that start out, I am Officer so and so from the IRS, and it's very important that you listen to this this call. Or they're always recorded. They're always robocalls.
I like the guy who called me from Microsoft support, who wanted me to set up a remote connection so that he could get into my computer and help me fix the hack.
Yes.
I said, oh, that's nice of you. Thanks.
Awfully kind of them.
I've been waiting for you to call.
And then you say, just a minute, honey, what's the number for the police? Well, I used to have fun with the ones that would call it dinner time, trying to sell me like, a boat or a timeshare. And I would say, gosh, that sounds great. I want to find out more. Now help me with one thing. My bankruptcy attorney said that I shouldn't buy anything for a while. Click.
I just say off to the side of the mic, hey, Jack, put this one on trace.
Yeah. Well, you can. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but I can always tell if it's going to be a junk call because it's either from New Jersey, where I have no clients currently, or from Thermal, California, or these city names out in the desert in California.
Bristol, where that is.
No, I haven't had Bristol. I've had, I don't know.
They're spoofing 442 as an area code.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, clearly they're spoofing. These are all non-functioning numbers.
Yeah.
Pain in the butt. I mean, it's not like in the bad old days when they were burning up my airtime when I paid for airtime.
Yeah.
but they're interrupting. It's a total waste of time.
And Anne always calls from 201. So she's stuck in New Jersey.
I've had calls from Ann I mean, that girl gets around. I've had calls from all over the U.S., including California and Florida. I get a lot of junk calls from Florida. That's very exciting. I haven't been to Florida in a long time, but my calls have. So. What's the old joke? I've never been to Buffalo, but my bags have.
I've gotten to the point now when I get an incoming call, the first thing I do is I pull it up. I quickly drop the number into Google and to see if it's reported. I think I've got almost as many blocked numbers in my Skype directory as I do contacts.
Well, I wondered, like, I block them in my iPhone, and I wonder what happens with all that data. Do they do anything useful with that?
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
I don't think Skype does anything with it.
It goes into probably a central database.
Well, yeah, but I wonder, how would they monetize that? What would they do with it?
It's not about monetization. It's about figuring out what the spammers are doing.
I guess. Yeah. The ones that really crack me up or make me puzzled are the ones that they call, you answer, and they hang up. Is that just verifying that that's a live number?
Yep.
So that I guess.
Yep. So they can sell it as a verified list.
Yeah, probably. That's why a verified list is
a lot more expensive. Yep.
Or not. I wouldn't even, when I was in that, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't buy a verified list because that's the way a lot of them are verified. I wanted verified customers.
Yeah.
And I pay more for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Also, often stipulate that they must have a credit card. That sort of thing if you're trying to sell something.
Yeah. Actually, years and years ago, did a Paradox application for a resort marketing, telephone house. That was a hard way for people to make a living, man.
It is.
Timeshare.
I managed incoming call centers for a while.
Well, these were outgoing. It was crazy.
Well, we were outgoing and incoming. We could do either. Yeah. We were doing time light books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that list, I could have sold it for a lot of money.
Well, I'm going to get a business card made someday. It's going to say, Tim Calling, encyclopedia salesman. And somebody will say, well, what? I'll say, well, there's not much business, but the hours are great. Or snow shoveler, El Cajon, California. Anyway.
There you go, San Diego snowplow service.
Yep. Well, so trying to think if there's anything coming up that we should be talking about, but I guess the main thing is really what's going to happen to all the Google Plus communities that we might still belong to, SEO and that kind of thing. I guess they're all going to migrate to Facebook or something. Maybe I'm the only one that's in a few, but in the local world, there are a couple that were pretty good. I guess they're going to end up migrating or something.
About the only time I go to G Plus anymore is just to, to log into one of these Hangouts.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's all going to be safely preserved because it's all through YouTube now, right? So,
yeah.
It's partially through YouTube.
I can't imagine that they would not offer Hangouts.
It would be nice to be able to preserve the event pages that we've got on G Plus, even though the Hangout itself is on YouTube. But whether that's going to be available to non-enterprise users or not remains to be seen.
Don't know. If I'm on one of these, I'm always just a participant. If I try to do something like this, I would probably consider doing it with Zoom just because it's easier for me.
I like Zoom.
But it doesn't have the reach though that if you record it and all that. what are you going to do with it? You're going to probably still wish it was on YouTube from an SEO standpoint.
Well, you have to manually upload it. You take your MP4 and upload it to YouTube, which is just as it's nice having it done for you.
Yeah.
And that'll be another step to take, but
it's going to be a big honking file when you do it that way. If it's an hour or an hour and a half long.
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah, it takes time. Yeah. Plus the fact you got to wait. Zoom's a little bit slow on processing it once you get done with the call too.
Yep.
So you're talking about a couple hours by the time you get it processed and then uploaded.
Now, what I don't know, because I haven't signed up for that part of the Zoom service, maybe they have a way to a facility for uploading it to YouTube. I wonder.
Not that I'm aware of, but possibly.
Okay. Mrs. Doc must have come into the room.
Yep. She just had to walk behind me. So.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, guys.
All right.
So, anybody have anything to close with? Any announcements?
Nothing comes to mind.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
In that case, have a good day. Thank you.
Lifelike.
Bye now.
You guys have a good one.